Okay, we ready to go? Yeah? All right, how's your first day MMS, or I guess MMS, slip, Ignite. How's your first day of Ignite going? Sorry, it's an old school Microsoft guy there, System Center. I'm Jeremy Winter, and today we've got one of my colleagues, Srini, here. And look, I just have to say I'm really excited. I love having this time of year when we're here to just really bring together all of us, the engineering teams, you, our customers, and our partners, to really sit down and just kind of talk through how our products are going. What I love the most about this is it's our time to just kind of share with you all the innovation that we've been doing over the course of the last year and really rolling that out. But it's also, as you look at it about sharing in education, make sure you look around to each other because we're all going through this. Just my walk down the aisle, we're all in different states, and I think there's a lot of education we can do together. So today Srini and I are going to roll through where we're kind of thinking of OMS all together, and we're going to talk about kind of where we've been, do some pretty demo-heavy spots, and we'll go from there. Srini.
Great. Thanks, Jeremy. I'm Srini Chandrasekhar. Thank you so much for being here this week at Ignite with all of us. I'm really looking forward to engaging with you, offline. And these conferences, we learn a lot. I'm truly humbled by how much we get to learn, from these conferences and from each other as well. So as Jeremy said, we will, do a little bit of talking, do a lot of demos, give you an idea of sort of the changes we brought to the product, share a little bit about the cloud vision that we have, as well as give you a little sneak peek at some of the new things that are coming down the pipe as well, if you have some time for that. So a few years ago, we realized that the cloud was sort of changing the IT landscape. And we said we needed to bring a new management solution to deal with that change. We had a fairly simple vision. We wanted to help every organization on the planet accelerate to the cloud and give you guys simple, modern tools that you can use to manage your hybrid and heterogeneous environment. That's sort of what started the journey for us. And as part of that, we met a lot of you. We had dozens and dozens of customer meetings, talking to you, understanding your business, where you're heading, your challenges, your aspirations, and what you wanted us, Microsoft, to do for you. And we learned a lot from that. I'll just highlight a couple of them. One, you said management is complex. You said there are too many tools. These tools operate in silos. You spend time stitching these tools together to get a holistic view. You said you didn't want to spend the time to deploy, monitor, manage your management tools. You said, Microsoft, take care of all of that for us. Make it simple for us. Right? That's one thing that we heard loud and clear. Secondly, you said that you were all on the journey to the cloud, and you were in a world of hybrid pain. You said you wanted systems, you wanted a management system to give you a sort of a unified view across both on-premises and the cloud. And you wanted to be able to manage and monitor all of your systems across the board, irrespective of where they resided. Right? That was your second big ask. Thirdly, many of you said you had management systems. Often we heard System Center a lot. They were acquired from Microsoft that you have on your premises. And you said, look, help us preserve our investments and extend us to the cloud, right? Without necessarily reinventing the wheel. We heard that loud and clear as well. And lastly, we heard some trends. You guys came in and said, look, things are happening that we want you guys to know about and help you with. Our business groups, they love the cloud, right? So they like the agility, they like the choice, they like self-service. So they're really going and adopting the cloud. We want to help them as IT, but we are sort of challenged in trying to figure out how to do this and still kind of keep central views and a little bit of control and security and things like that, right? Compliance. We want to do all of that and yet help them be successful. We don't know how to do that. Help us. So that's kind of what you guys said. And so that was sort of the genesis for why we built OMS. I'll pass it to Jeremy.
So last year at Ignite, 18 months ago, we announced the Operations Management Suite. And the core, how many people are using it today? Good. We're at about half the room or a little three-quarters. That's good. And for the others, the reason we did this was really we needed to go start to innovate a cloud management platform for you. And when we think about that cloud management platform, we wanted to make sure that it was hybrid at the very beginning, to kind of go back to the things we heard from you and that Srini mentioned as kind of our North Star vision of accelerating you with that cloud management platform. And so when we sat down and thought about it from a hybrid perspective, first it was hybrid, meaning it can do any cloud, and we really focused on multiple operating systems as well. And we've been on a journey as we build that piece out over and over. But those are the two things that guide the teams as we really went and built a cloud-born service running from the cloud. Now, the other core reason we needed to do this is make sure that as we started to see our customers move to the cloud at whatever pace they're on, you're going to really look to have enterprise management cloud capabilities, enterprise management capabilities for those workloads and for those apps in the cloud. And so last year at Ignite, we released the OMS, and this is the suite. It really gives you any cloud, any operating system, and it really focuses on bringing you this new technology for you to start to go do that. And for you that have been with us on this journey, you've known we've really worked through this, and we continue to build on a pretty fast pace. So as we look at it, let's go ahead and flip to the next. I'm going to go through and just give you kind of a highlight of a few of the, man, what if I could? For those that haven't seen it, I'll just take a few minutes and just walk you through a bit of what ifs. Like, what if I could go do this? And just how easy it is and how simple it is to go show it. So I think I flipped to 7?
Yep.
Great. So when I talk about OMS, you can just hit Microsoft.com /OMS and go to the site and learn. And for you that haven't used it, it's really simple just to get up and going. We've given you a free account. So if you come into the free account, we want this to be easy. I don't have to go, I as an IT, I don't have to go find capital hardware. I don't have to go spend money. I don't have to get hardware. I don't have to ask for much approval. I just can go use this thing for free. We have all the capabilities available for you to take advantage of it free. And we give you 2 ways to do it. You can sign up and go use the experience today, or you can come in and also we've got capabilities for you to schedule time and get access to a full-on demo environment that's got all the content ready to go for you. So even if you really want to try the power of OMS without needing all the core capabilities for your deployments, we've got demo environments set up. And so we run the service, we run the demo environment, and you'd get access directly into it. But you hear these notions like, what if I could just see it all in one place? What if I could just see it all? And so that's really where we set out to go after, is really giving you that ability to just start to go see and having the flexibility to see everything in one place. I hear it time and time again. Can I just see all my servers? How about all my cloud resources? And by the way, I've got all those apps I have to worry about, my logs, my real-time metrics. And underneath this, we've got core is, and I created this, actually Evan created, one of my key guys here, created what we call the JW One View. And so I just took a slice through all the information that's sitting in the back of the analytics. And you can see quickly, right here I've got all my Azure servers that are running inside the environment, all the things that are back in my private cloud. So I've got 5 machines talking back on site, so I'm able to get that view. But my apps, how many folks are starting to use the App Insights? Okay, we've got a new 2 folks over there, 3. We've got a capability that's in preview that gives us visibility. It's on the Visual Studio side that gives us visibility into the applications. And so here I can see all my apps. I have 2. We're going to talk about the Acme app a little bit later. And then my logs. Getting all your logs is so powerful into one place, whether it's security logs, event logs, really helps you troubleshoot. But you also need it mixed with your real-time metrics. And you'll see vendors out there that talk about we're the first ones to be able to get real-time metrics and logs. And for you, you know we've had it for well over a year for those that have been using OMS. So we're bringing it all together in one service for you to go through. But we also are now releasing some of the stuff today. A lot of people, who's wanted to build your own solutions? Okay, I've got like a few. You're going to want to build your own solutions when you start to go do this and collect your own data and make your own solutions. We're not the experts. You are about your environment and your own custom views. And so you can quickly just come in and edit and create your own view. And you can share these views, import, export, and start to move them around. And so we make it pretty easy for you to go take all these data and bring it together. So again, it's all about simplicity in your views and what you're doing across those views. Now, Keynote. Everyone in the Scott Keynote today? Yeah? Did you see the Azure Monitor release? Yeah? Pretty cool stuff? Okay, so let's flip over and look at this. What if I could see the same things that are in OMS inside Azure? And so today you saw him come in and talk about a new capability called Azure Monitor. Pretty cool. We need this within Azure Monitor. We need to bring all the components together. And so you saw Donovan come in, click on the monitor, and we came right into the different views that exist. Okay? Inside that, he clicked on Log Search. We are now talking about being powered by OMS. All those capabilities that you saw, if I come in and do the overview, remember, these solutions that are here that are powered by OMS, capability that leverages you to come back into your on-premises from the cloud, we're talking the same thing. This is powered by the same piece of technology. So when you see that rich analytics in Azure Monitoring, you see those solutions that they showed, and it's together. So we're able to make sure whether you're using Azure and wanting that enterprise-grade management or hybrid view from Azure, or you're using it direct, you've got it in both places. Same technology, same powered by OMS and those technologies. So today in the demos, you're going to see us context switch. We're going to come in and show you capabilities in Azure. We're going to show you capabilities inside the core OMS portal. And the point I'm making for today, and we see the keynote, is it's all powered in the same technology. You can use it wherever you are. And that's pretty cool stuff. Okay, so I'm going to flip over and ready to talk about some momentum.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. You're 5.
So clearly, we've been in the market for about 18 months now, and we're seeing a lot of momentum. And thank you to everybody who's using OMS and sort of contributing to that. So one of the things that we've been doing essentially is to completely change the way we deliver software. We're no longer on a 3-year cycle or a 1-year cycle. We deliver capabilities and innovations to the market very, very rapidly. So across the teams, running OMS, sort of working on OMS, you would find us, potentially coming out with new features, new capabilities every week. So as we look at the last 18 months or so, or even 12 months, we've released on average more than a dozen major capabilities every quarter, and hundreds of new functionality and minor capabilities. And we keep putting this out. There are lots of advantages to doing something like this. One, we're a PaaS-based service, so it's very easy to do that and offer it to you. Right? Secondly, because it is a SaaS-based service, you don't have to go through a complex upgrade process or anything like that. You can quickly get and start consuming the capabilities that we put out for you. And lastly, because of the rapid cycle speed, we're able to get feedback very, very quickly and act on that. And a lot of customers have come back to us and said that they love the speed with which we're innovating, love the speed with which we're bringing new capabilities to you guys. So the growth across all of the services has been phenomenal. We've seen triple-digit growth across all of the services in OMS. Backup and DR have grown more than 300%. Automation jobs more than 400%. Machines, both VMs and physical machines, more than 450%. Daily analytics volume is growing. We're almost at 800% weekly, growth of search queries. So a lot of momentum behind this. And what really makes us really good about this stuff is what our customers are saying. They're happy with where we're going. So we know we're on the right track. We're continuing to invest. We're continuing to iterate very, very rapidly in getting this capability out to you guys. Trust. Trust in the global cloud is something that's huge for us. You've heard Jason talk about trust, Scott talk about trust. Even Shantanu from Adobe, who was there with Satya in the keynote, came and said one of the reasons that they're betting on Azure is the trust that they have on Azure, right? So that's super important. The one thing that you get from any service coming out of Microsoft is that focus on security, compliance, privacy. We take all of that very, very seriously. If you look at the OMS customers that we have, they span the gamut, right? We have customers all the way from born-in-the-cloud startups to small and medium businesses to global 100 corporations, multinationals, across many different industry verticals, right? Regulation-oriented industries like healthcare, finance, insurance, and even government. So certifications is something that we take seriously, and you will find us continue to add to this list of certifications that we certify OMS for every year. So as Jeremy was mentioning, going to the cloud is a journey, right? All of you, I'm sure, are in different stages of this journey. Some of you are in early stages. You're planning it, thinking about it. You're saying, hey, we see the value that the cloud offers. What can we do that allows us to do it in a staged, meaningful way? You're taking it slow. Some of you have taken the way you operate on premises and taken the control to the cloud. So you're letting your organizations move to the cloud, but slowly, under control, with policy and those things in place, right? So you're able to get the benefits like pay as you go, but perhaps not quite the agility. And some of you are approaching it from the opposite direction, where you're sort of, focusing more on agility, doing more experimentation, letting your business group sort of move, at their own pace, but kind of trying to figure out how do you bring central compliance and central monitoring and central security into place. So there's really no right answer or wrong answer to how one gets to the cloud. And I think it's an experiment. All of us continue to learn as we go through the journey, but that's a journey every one of us is on, every one of you is on. The key is that we recognize this as we built OMS. So we built that with a lot of flexibility to give every one of you something to help you get through the journey. I'll give you a couple of examples, right? One, if you're sort of planning the approach, thinking about it, you might want to use the cloud just for a few low-hanging things, right? You don't want to move your infrastructure there. You can back up to the cloud. You can DR to the cloud. You can do analytics from the cloud for things running on premises, right? If you decide, okay, hey, that makes sense, I'm going to start moving to the cloud, we offer you migration. And once you sort of get your things into the cloud, OMS allows you to monitor, manage, troubleshoot everything on the cloud. And we know that you're going to continue to be hybrid. So we connect with System Center. There's integration with SCOM, with DPM, with automation. So we allow you to sort of be in this hybrid world and have a unified view, as sort of Jeremy was showing. That's some of the ways in which OMS helps you in this journey.
I think also when I look at where we're at with this design point for flexibility, it's okay for everyone to be in the different state. And it's actually I just got asked this question about a half an hour ago as a follow-up with some of the folks in the press, and I said, look, companies will hear them that they feel like they're worried that they need to be in a certain place. And right now, it's actually okay for everyone to be in this point where we're learning. And we're trying to figure out how this goes, because we're still very, very early in the cloud, and we're very early in how this is really going to pan out for our infrastructure. And so it's okay for where we're at. And what we want to be able to do is make sure that as we go build out ourselves, and as the teams are building and learning, as they run and build their own high-scale services, our own teams for OMS, also we want to make sure that we're thinking about the core pieces and components that are needed for the cloud management and modern management. And so there isn't a right or wrong answer right now, in my opinion. I think it really is going to be where you are in the spectrum and how you want to take that. You're going to have a variety of different influences for you, and so that's why you see Microsoft giving you all the different pieces, whether that's connections with your system centers, connections in with Azure and the platform, continuing to do the work with our private cloud work, ensuring you've got the different technologies. And that's the same for when we think about modern management, making sure you have that flexibility. So when you look at what's up on the screen, there's really a couple core things I'll draw your attention to. At the center of the circle, the life cycle of how we think about it, this is the same. And for now, it's going to continue to be the same. The same thing we've done for the past decade, you're still going to need to apply this into the cloud, regardless of how you move. Now, you may have a faster velocity going on with the developers as we move more and more into the speed of our development. And we're feeling that as well as we go build this service. I mean, our teams are starting to really, really get this high level of velocity, but we're also starting to have to understand as we go build and run our own services what this means. And so we approached this with making sure that we have core management capabilities available for you and that we'd have to build over time so that when you are moving to the cloud, we're ready. The other core pieces we really wanted to go work across making sure you could use each one of these individually or collectively together because you're all at different points on this. So let me walk through this life cycle. The life cycle stays the same. I think this is it's the thing that'll change is the speed and the velocity of how fast you're going to have to do this and the things that are moving on around it. The other thing is the approach that you take. The technology is changing. Some of us may say, my gosh, that's actually a scary thing. Being a software engineer, it jazzes the heck out of me. I just love it. I've never been more excited about the stuff that's coming through IT. The work we're doing to be able to leverage the cloud for things like infrastructure with backup, that just hyperscale capability of bringing things together with analytics, we just couldn't have done 5 years ago. And so it just changes the game for how we think about cloud management. And we've been building that platform and thinking about it from a lot of the experts that built and spent a lot of time on the management in the past. So if I start with config, when we think about configuration, now remember flexibility is in all of this, but when you think about config, we went out and really delivered on this, focused first on the automation and that orchestration. We took PowerShell, that ability to take PowerShell and scripting it against one machine, and we took it to the cloud and allowed you to have the scheduling power and the ability to make it so that you could run it across multiple instances and target and control, and I'll show you some of that. So we dropped the orchestration. Azure Automation was a part of this GA last year, and then we started to add more capabilities around that. And as we saw, desired state config, or that configuration piece, was one of the core things that we dropped and announced last winter. We did an early preview at Ignite. We then came around in September with the view of it, and then delivered GA this winter on desired state config inside the service. So we've really done well in the configuration space, and I think that automation serves as a backbone for where you see a lot of us going, or for a lot of the teams will start to leverage that as a core element, and you can start leveraging that as you're thinking about how do I use my scripting language and that stuff that I already know from PowerShell. Now, we moved down into the monitor section. Again, this is where we came out with the early views of the analytics, the log analytics as a part of a part of OMS. Now, analytics, this is really where you bring all your data in, and this creates this convergence of all the data, and it's extremely powerful. You can bring your own custom logs, your own custom data, as I showed before, but it also causes the convergence. Security is not just only IT's problem or security's problem, it's everybody's problem, and it really allows this information to be mashed up. But as we came in heavy, and I think we've got just a rock-solid industry competitive cloud, 100% in the cloud service around our analytics, we've then been adding alerts so that you can start to get that real-time monitoring coming, and we've improved how fast we can actually get the metrics in. And then we've even done mobile apps this fall to be able to start to have, whether you're on Android or iOS, like on my Apple phone, I watch our service using OMS. And so that's kind of the core. We've got it in your hands. And I'll show you a little bit of the discovery here in a bit of a new announcement that we've got coming on discovery and dependency. So then we brought backup in. And so this first half, backup, what a powerful thing to be able to leverage our cloud and be able to start to leverage backup and the capabilities without all that complex infrastructure you need on premises, and disaster recovery. Just because we're backing things up doesn't mean we're able to fail over from one place to another. And just because you're using our cloud infrastructure doesn't mean you still can't back up to your on-premises. And so we've really made sure that this first half of the wheel is where we've really been hitting it hard. Now, as you look to the future of where you'll see us continue to go, you'll see us work our way up the other side here over the course of the next couple years. Are we done with the first side of the wheel? Not even, but I think we have one heck of a good start. So when we start to look at the second half of this, and these are all things that apply to cloud management, security is going to be critical. Not just security on making sure you've got the encryption channel and I can trust I've got the right role, the right access over there, but it's also critical as an element where you really have to start and see how do I take my logs, my security logs, my patch status, and all that information and bring it in together through security. And how many times have I seen my own teams where the security team sees something, the IT, the admins are having to go fetch data for the security guys, and it's back and forth. It's almost like trying to troubleshoot between my networking team and my SQL Server team. I mean, they're just not on the same page. But now we have all this data together, it really streamlines that. And I can tell you, the multiple times I've been able to go into a company and we start to talk about this, and you're able to start showing what we can do, you start to see the IT and the security team starting to realize they've got the same space and the same technology to work together on. Very, very powerful. So we launched the first view of this. We went at RSA in February. So in February, we did the security, and we did a preview of that, which then we just GA'd in July. So we have a GA threat intelligence service, which I'll show you, inside OMS, and this will continue to be a big investment. As we come through and see more and more acquisitions and more investments that we've done around security. Who went to Brad Anderson's session? Anyone see Brad's? A few? Okay. So Brad was all about security. It started out security, had the big light bulb with the smash. Things have changed. We talked about the graph, security graph. We are going to continue to put our work inside security, and we think about how we're doing with security event and information systems, being able to collect more and more information. We're going to continue to think about how we can do behavior analysis and threat detection, and you'll see some of that in here today. Pretty powerful stuff. And so we'll continue to invest in that and go forward. We also need to start thinking about our governance. as you start to think more and more about the cloud, you're going to have to think about how you optimize those workloads. And today what we do is we really focus on policy, which Srini is going to give you some demos of how we can actually think about enforcing a type of app that we want, the images we want around it, and making sure that you've got the compliance and automated fixing around that. But when we think about policy, it's going to go broader. How do I handle it against my multiple subscriptions? And so today we have quite a bit of innovations coming from Azure, and we're going to bring more up into that. But governance is definitely something you'll see us continue to invest in further. And then our DevOps and toolings. Man, our devs, we've got so many different packages and systems that they use. We too can package. We've got some capabilities to help package. You'll see us work more and more with our Visual Studio side of the house because they've done a ton to really help with our DevOps tooling and bring that together. But we're also going to have the flexibility. So as you see your departments and your developers starting to take advantage of containers more, microservices more, starting to use other tools like Chef, you still have that flexibility to bring it in. Now, as you look at this whole thing as it comes together, right now where we're all standing, each one of you is coming at it from a different perspective. Some of you need the backup, others need that automation, others need that visibility, and some just need the security. Our goal isn't to come in and try to pigeonhole this technology right now. Our goal is to keep building what we need is a cloud management platform that you can then have native in Azure and start to really think about how that'll leverage Azure as well as start to come into your hybrid environment. And so these are the core technologies that we've really done and how we see ourselves investing. So if you're sitting back thinking, where's the roadmap? These are the core areas we'll continue to invest in. If you're thinking about, man, 66 core elements that were dropped over this year, that's why. And just the sheer amount of velocity that we've been able to go put in that has just been very, very good. And I mean, since 3/4 of the room raised their hand on that they've started using Oems or seen, if you're really watching, you'll see the amount of innovation that's coming through on a weekly and even monthly basis. And so these will be the areas we continue to focus in. I think we've really done a good job on the first half. I think we've got we'll continue to do work and refine those, and then we've got quite a bit to go. But this is how we think about it. You're going to see we look at other solutions out there that, look, we just want to really go focus on one. I think you need them all together. And so you'll see as we start to go in some of the deep dive sessions, we've got a session on customizing Oems. We've got a whole ecosystem that we're about to release that will allow people to start building and bringing more solutions into this, bringing more data together. One of the announcements we'll talk about is bringing in some of the firewall data. So this is where we're headed. This is how we're focused for the last year, and really is what's guiding all of us. So I think now we're going to jump into a little bit more demo. Sound good?
And these aren't silos. You're going to see sort of them sort of interacting with each other and sort of leveraging each other. You're going to see some of those in the demos as well.
Okay, ready to demo?
Yep.
You're up or am I up? You're up.
Yep.
All right. 7.
All right. So Jeremy talked about, we started off the wheel with, configuration and control. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to start by showing you how we can use our, our automation and control tool to be able to deploy, across your organization, hybrid organization, set configuration all of your machines and make sure that they stay to configuration and don't allow drifts. So here I am in the automation, workspace. And one of the first things that you see here is that for this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look at all of my VMs on Azure and sort of enumerate them and enlist them on DSC. So I'll show you the runbook that does that. So I go into runbooks. Here's an Apply Azure VM DSC workbook that we have. So I'm going to go into Edit. Okay, and what you see here is a fairly simple workbook. What it does is it gets your subscription, and from that subscription sort of identifies all the VMs in that subscription and sort of gets a merge list together and then sort of enlists each of these into DSC. Okay? What exactly the DSC does, we'll come back to in a second, but that's basically what you need to do. It's fairly simple and straightforward for you to write a runbook that collects all your machines, both on premises as well as on Azure. We can have the hybrid worker role to be used if you want to get your on-premises machines. You can get all of these together to have a DSC enforce on all of them. So in this case, what I have done is there are 7 nodes on Azure that have been enlisted, and they are part of DSC. So let's go take a look at these. right? You notice that the DSC management is running on these things periodically, and many of them at this point are compliant, but one of them is sort of out of compliance. Let's take finance one, that's sort of running the compliance at this point, just to get a sense for the kinds of things that we can do. Right? So we notice that all the runs have been sort of successful so far. Let's pick the latest run and take a look at some of the things that we have here. So here are some of the things that we want this machine's configuration to have, right? Windows features. We want to make sure it's got IIS. We want to make sure it's got .NET 4.5. It's got a couple of websites that it's running, and because of that, it's got a firewall. We've sort of opened port 81 for this. This is under OMS management, so we make sure that the OMS agent is installed on this machine. That's part of the configuration for this, and the OMS service is running on this machine. So all of these are configurations that we have set up, and if there's any drift from this configuration, the DSC will make sure that the drift is corrected. So one thing I want to highlight here is the mode that this VM has been set to is called apply and autocorrect, which means that automatically if anything changes, intentionally or inadvertently, it's going to go and auto-fix that. Okay? So that's one of the modes in which you can run DSC. So let's go back and take a look at the node that's not compliant, just to see if we can figure out what's going on. So it looks like the IIS ASP, there is a problem, but let's go in here and sort of confirm that. All right, so the Windows features are installed, but there's something wrong on the website front, and it says IIS ASP is the DSC configuration that's sort of not compliant. So let's go back and go and take a look at all the DSC configurations just to get a sense. So here is IIS ASP. I'm going to open that. Oops, I changed the color. It's fine. There you go. IIS ASP. So if you come in here, this view configuration source, just to take a look at what's going on. So basically what this is trying to do is to make sure the web server is there, okay? It's got a couple of web servers in there, and then wants to make sure it is running. So that's really what it's trying to do. So clearly, lack of compliance here means that that web server is not running, and we can go ahead and fix that. But the one thing you would notice, what I sort of failed to highlight, I'll go back and show this to you again in a second, is this particular one is running a mode which is not autocorrect. It's apply and monitor. So you can decide if you want to be in an apply and autocorrect mode, or you want to be in an apply and monitor mode. If you're in an apply and monitor mode, if you change from the configuration, then you're going to get warned about that. It'll raise an incident for you, and then you can take corrective action. So that's kind of how DSC works. I will show you how some of these scripts are. So we'll go to configurations. Let's take a look at the configuration script here. If you notice, it's all PowerShell syntax, right? So PowerShell is something many of you are familiar with. So whether you're using it for your configuration stuff or for your operation stuff, it's a common language, common syntax that you can use to set up these DSC configurations as well. Now, let me go ahead and show you update management. This is something new that we've done recently, wherein if you have sort of updates in your organization, if patching different versions of the operating system, you can have a unified view of what versions are running on all of your Windows machines as well as Linux machines, and be able to manage them consistently, know what critical updates are installed, what is not installed, and be able to take corrective actions on that as well. So here's the Oems Dashboard, and here you have a tile here that gives you a high-level view of sort of how many computers are running what updates. So let's sort of drill in here. Okay? So you have a fairly detailed view. We show you both Windows computers as well as Linux computers. We give you sort of all the updates that are present and what is not. We have a detailed view of both critical and security updates, both for Windows machines as well as packages for Linux machines. So let's sort of drill into one of these, just get a sense. Okay, I'm going to pick, I don't know, web server L2. So once you go in here, you can drill into every node. You get a sense of sort of what updates are present on that computer, what updates are pending on that computer. Be able to go deeper and say filter it and so on and so forth once it shows up. There you go. Okay, so there are 26 updates, 5 critical, 4 security that this machine is missing. I'm going to go down and take a deeper look at the critical updates. So let me filter on critical updates. Okay, there are 5 missing critical updates, and if I want to know what they are, I can go into the list view and take a look at details for every one of these updates. So fairly powerful stuff that allows you to go fairly deep inside, know what's on the different machines and what you need to do. So let's say you want to go ahead and deploy updates, right? So we can let you do that as well. So along with these updates, I'll show you how you want to deploy an update. So you can go to Manage Update Deployments. And we have scheduled updates, currently running updates, as well as completed updates. Let's say we want to go ahead and add a new update. All we have to do is click Add, give the update a name, give the list of computers you want to go apply this update to. So this could be a list of computers. You can also create groups of computers and save them and pick the group here. Specify the time zone, and whether it's a one-time schedule or want a weekly schedule or a monthly schedule. You can go ahead, give the start time. And most importantly, you can give the duration during which you want to actually apply the updates. So this is your update duration. So once, in this case, if 60 minutes are up, we will no longer do that. We'll wait for that to come back the next time around. So you can have a scheduled window in which you go and apply the updates. So let me go back here and take a look at one of the computers where we've actually completed applying updates. So again, you get a fairly detailed information about the kinds of updates that we have, whether the installation was successful or not. We can click into each one of these, get a lot of information and depth and detail about updates on your machines. And this view works both across Azure and your on-premises data center.
Cool.
To you.
How many of you, updates, how many of you guys haven't worry about updates? Huh? Yeah, and now you can see updates with Windows and Linux.
Do you like what you see?
Anyone notice that? Linux, right? Against multiple distros. So typically you're going to expect from Microsoft, we're going to come through with, here's our Microsoft, we'll give you those Windows updates. But no, this is a lot of new innovation the team's put in to really go through and look at those new distros. And so when we think about which distros we go through, it's all the top ones, and now you'll see in the course of the next few months, we'll actually allow you to not only do the updates and schedule runs against your Windows, but we'll actually start to go and force and drive the scheduled updates against Linux. So let's switch a little bit here. Talk about, thank you, cool stuff.
Sure. Yep.
Love it. I'll try to tie some of that stuff back together. When we think about OMS, one of the core things you've heard me talk about is troubleshooting. And so let's kind of step back and picture I've got an app. And I've been notified, whether it's PagerDuty or the guys on Slack, or I've got an email from one of my ticketing systems that says, hey, I've got a notification that I've got something going down with one of my apps, that Acme app we talked about earlier. And so typically we could either go in and start looking at metrics and data, or we can jam right into the log analytics, but we've got a new piece called the Application Dependency Mapping, which is right here. This is a new announcement we're going to be talking about. Now, application dependency mapping allows us to really come in and start to discover the environment and look at the environment. So here's a view. I can see here's my app. I'll zoom in for those because I know we're a little bit in here. I've got my Acme customer portal. If I click on this, it's going to show me which ones are connected to it. So I can zoom in, see that I've got an alert here. Now, I've got something that's I've oftentimes had. Let's go jump over, and I'm going to look at that app server. So now here it is again. I've got a typical 3-tier app that I'd have in my Acme apps here. I've got those front ends we just looked at. We've got the middle tier. But I know when I got that alarm, or I got the alert, or I was noticing that it was earlier this morning. So I'm going to dive in and just drop into a smaller window of time. Let's give it 20 minutes there. And I'm going to apply. Now, here's what's pretty cool about this. I not only can discover my environment, start to see the topology, which helps me troubleshoot. I mean, I remember times when we were having problems with the front end of one of the services I used to run, Hotmail. We had the problem on the front end of Hotmail, and ended up it wasn't anything to do with the front end. We thought we were being spammed pretty hard, and it was just really performing slow. What was actually happening is my drives had shifted down, clear down into the disk drives where we were delivering mail. but it was causing everything to spool up, and I saw the problem up in my front end. We spent a ton of time troubleshooting that direction. Versus being able to have something like this that just indicated. It was just one of my big, one of the big brains. I'll never forget him. By running these scripts, came and said, "Man, I'm noticing all these disk drives are shifted down on these specific clusters." If we could have had a tool that helped track, like, look, we saw it here, we saw the alarms at the specific area, it helps you move in quickly to troubleshoot. So here we see our typical three-tier app, and I see we've got some processes inside, and so not only can we give you discovery, dependency of your topology, but we can look inside that app and the processes on that machine and help you understand right to the process, which is one of the key values that I see with this solution. So I could tell right away that, all right, I've got something here with the backup, and you can quickly see which two pieces and where the connection is. The other thing we can do is start to go see the machine summary data. Now I could see the failed connections. We can see it visually. I don't need to go read it. I don't even often look at the left-hand side or the right-hand side there. I can see it visually, which I like. But I also have some critical alerts which warned me that I was having a problem. That's how I got notified in the first place. Back to that monitoring stuff we talked about before where I said we're investing in alerts heavily. And then, there's a change. Now I thought, Srini, you set up the environment so no changes were happening, or that I could look at that.
This is not our backup product. It's not.
Okay.
That's part of the problem, I guess.
Yeah, great. So, it helps us go look quickly in there. So we see that software change, and I could see the alerts. So what's cool about this is now we've taken the dependency data and the mapping data. So if you're trying to migrate workloads, now you can see which workloads you need to move and what they're dependent on. If you're now having environments that are like your web servers, your web front ends, or certain aspects are up in the cloud, and the other aspects are sitting on another cloud or back on premises on site, you'll get that visibility and you'll see the work in there. Now we have teams that have all this other data, overlaying the metrics, overlaying the data with alerts onto these maps will help you start to troubleshoot, and we will just continue to layer data on top of these to make it easier for you to troubleshoot. I mean, great, I have a map, but if it doesn't actually let me get in and see the alerts or get in quick and see what's going on with the change, so we can take that intelligence, that what we call it operational intelligence, into these views, just help. So let's go take a look. So change we saw, you sure that's not your backup?
Absolutely.
Positive.
Yeah.
Okay. So we see one change happen on backup, but let's go ahead and look at the alerts, because I didn't get notified that I had a backup. I got notified that I had a CPU spike, and I can see these CPU spikes here about the monitoring. So let's dive in on the CPU and look at what's going on here. And right away, a couple things I'll pinpoint for you, and I'll zoom in again, is, here we got a high CPU spike today, and the alert query's right there. All the capabilities you see where we can do these rich alert queries, you can build any monitoring system you want on the data. You can add your own data in, and you can go through it. So we are going to look at this alert, and now we're going to dive into the power of the search analytics. So let's go take a look at what's going on with the CPU spike. So now, we've guided you in. We're going to dive in and look at troubleshooting with the CPU here. You saw today in Scott's demo a lot of querying and dealing through that. We've got favorites. So a lot of times when you've got an app like what I've got on my app, I'm going to save these queries that I run all the time. I was talking to a few folks earlier. They've got a whole bunch of queries that they want to share with us. And so we can really look at those top queries. They save their queries. And so I don't have to go write this query every time. We want it to be simple. So I can come in and say, look, I want to just see right away what my utilization is across here. Okay? So I can look at my CPU utilization on that machine, and there's definitely some action going on here. I'm going to go ahead and drop down to 6 hours. Okay? Yeah, this is banging. Something's banging away at it, and I'm not quite sure what it is. Maybe it's that change. Maybe it's not. Given it's a demo, all indicators say it will be. So let's go ahead and hit the top. Let's go ahead and look at the top processes. So when I look at the top processes, this is going to go look through all the different processes that are running on the box. And remember earlier this morning, Donovan showed like you can actually highlight and show which pieces. There's our agent, pretty light on the box. But yeah, this backup, I don't know what this backup thing is, Srini. I'm glad it's not
Whoever
yours.
wrote this backup, I don't think can be in our team. 60% CPU utilization.
Yep. So it's banging away on here, and so we need to go through that. But the point is, we need to go kill that process, get this thing off the box. But remember, Srini showed you how we can handle the configuration of that. So if we tie these two back together on how we can bring the value of desired state config with troubleshooting, why that whole circle has to come together and why we're not just trying to do one point solution but give you the core, is because I can come back in, okay? So everyone knows we've got that backup process, and you're going to make sure we kill that process. And okay, so I'm going to jump back in and show change. Change is something that just is miserable when we can't figure out what's changed in the environment. And so one of the elements we've spent a lot of time is putting the logic into understanding the change in the environment. Not just change in Windows, but change in Linux. When we talked with the team and the team spun up to really go do this work, leveraging the work of automation and desired state config, elements we built last year for Ignite, we wanted to make sure that we really focused on Linux as well. And so you'll see here a summary view of configuration change. You don't have to go through all the logs to do it yourself. We've done the intelligence to show you what's changed in the environment. Pretty cool, even down to the day, right? Lots of changes happening. My little bit of changes in my Linux environment. Usually my Linux guys are making more changes than that, but these are the changes that are happening in my Linux environment. I can see the changes by configuration type. I can see the software changes. And by gosh, there again is that app demo app server. And yep, I can see they've had 15 changes. This hasn't just been happening once. It didn't happen just this morning. It's been happening for a while, but I didn't know about it. And so we can come in and take a look at that, and you can see quickly, if I go just drill in, again, we use the power of search, and again, you can start to see, all right, well, it's a demo script we've been adding and removing, but I actually like to think someone's trying to is hacking in and dropping some process on here, and then calling it back up, hoping that I won't see it. So the point that I'm showing here for you is we have change, and you can look at the change across your environment. So I just brought you in, we troubleshot an app. Now overlaid all this different data that we have, the network data, the wire data, the topology data, all this is data-driven in management. And then we've come in and showed the change tracking. Now to tie this back together, where Srini could set the configuration, if we just go and set the configuration policy for this machine, we could go use DSC to ensure that if that backup process was dropped back on there, it would automatically take it back off. It would automatically detect it, tell you that you've been compliant or not compliant, and automatically fix it. And as he showed you the compliance reports, now as you need to start to show that you are compliant, and you've got compliance and you're meeting your compliance standards in the cloud, we can show your auditors or your own companies that you've got the compliance and when it wasn't and how you remediated it. Because there's going to happen. You're going to not be incompliant, but it's how you act and remediate against it. And so that's a core element that I think is pretty cool on the troubleshooting side of it and how we tie it back to desired state config. So we've troubleshot an app, but security, that's another thing that we're doing a lot of work there. And there's something I thought I'd highlight in the security side. So oftentimes you have to troubleshoot a security side. So remember, we've got our ADM app, my Acme app. It had those front-end components, ADM Web 001. It had, I know you guys weren't paying attention to the server names. Well, maybe a few of you are, because it's natural. You can't help yourselves. We looked at the middle tier, and then we looked at the back end. So let's go off and see what's going on with threat detection. And so we've got we GA'd this summer, and man, I have to tell you the amount of interest in this. When this released, we saw the amount of data just start to triple immediately. Boom, a huge hockey curve. Now a lot more data being pulled in from those security logs, but a lot of interest from our customers just pulling it down out of the gallery, which is right here on the left. So if you dive in, now, a few of you were in Brad's session. Brad Anderson had a session on security. And what he talked about was just a lot of the security organizations that we're dealing with in this thing called the security graph. And this is something that's completely differentiated that is available in here. So I'm going to and when Brad talked about the security graph, what that is Microsoft is under attack all the time. We take all the data from Azure, we take all the data from Bing, and we bring all this information and put it into what we call the security graph. It's a graph of all the data that we know. So we know real time who's attacking us. We also work with partners to bring data in. So our security teams in Israel, we've got some amazing talent in Israel, and they've been working on bringing in with partners and bringing their security intelligence into the graph. And that's part of what you saw in Scott's demo today when he talked about the Azure Security Center, how they can look at the compliance and the baselines of your workloads and your environment in Azure. But we've also delivered it here with the same security teams and the same technology so you can use it back in your on-premises. So in your on-site environment, you'll be able to use this. Now what's really, I think, differentiating here is now you've got all this, the security graph, and then we can apply this right back into your environment. And so you get access to this stuff, and we've given you that expertise and logic. So when we think about our security, first off, you can see we've got a lot of security records over time. We've got the data coming in, and we can see just, is my activity getting higher and higher or lower or lower? And we bring in the merge of all your anti-malware assessments, and we're working with partners to go do this. It's not just only ours, our Defender agent, but it's also others. You bring in that data where we showed we're doing updates. Just because we're managing updates and need to keep up on updates, they have an impact on your security as well. And so this is that, remember I talked in the wheel about the convergence of the information. This is now your security side. Whether you're on IT or security, you can see those vulnerabilities. And that matters because if something's happened on a box and someone is sitting there and they're watching, or they've dropped a process like this backup process and they're just sitting there doing whatever that backup process is doing, that information is valuable, and by taking the whole view of the graph and whole view of what your IT infrastructure, you can bring it together. So then we've also done behavior analysis and machine learning that starts to go look, and our teams in Israel spend a lot of time with the security on this, and we'll continue to invest big here. You'll see us, if you're in addition to, like I said, on the main core chart, we'll continue to invest more and more and more in our security capabilities with OMS, and we'll make sure that those are available both for Azure and your on-premises. So let me continue down this threat intelligence piece. So we've got baseline assessments, we've got network security, bringing all that data coming in, and then we've got threat intelligence. So I could see already I've got a few threat types in here, and this is one of those pieces where we have the access to all the solutions that are attacking us. Wouldn't it be nice if your company could just plug right into our information and know, hey, we know where some of the active botnets are, some of the darknet is happening, and some of the details around it. And so you can see on the map, we can show typically where all the inbound and outbound traffic is. And for you guys that are worried about the security, know the inbound's always coming. It's hitting you at all times at any angle. And it's really how you're defending across that and how you're hardening your environment. It's these outbound ones I'm a little worried about here. And so if I go in and look, something's going on. A lot of those hackers down in San Diego. If you're all from, anyone from San Diego? Okay, so they're hacking me right now. So I can take a look at the two outbound, and right here I can see that we've got 100% hit that we know this is part of a botnet. Okay, let's go see what these two outgoing traffic. Now I'm going to fall back in to the analytics. So as I jump into my analytics piece here, now I've got all this different traffic that's happening inside. Okay, now we can go query and party in this like crazy. I can show all sorts of scenarios, but what I want to circle us back to is, remember this monitoring, this alerting, how do you get notified? I need to be notified if I'm having an issue here. And by the way, I think we've got more than just a backup issue, because now my ADM service that it's calling is actually, the front end is talking out. So I think someone's probably dropped something on our network and it's dropping out. So I want to just quarantine this thing the next time I see it. I just want it done. I don't want to be coming in late from work, trying to get my coffee, and just worried that something's happened. I want the system to take care of it right away. I want to be notified and I want to do it. So this is how the monitoring works. I'm going to go create a new monitoring, just click alert. And we added this, we really started to add this fall, and we continue to innovate in this space, and we'll continue to innovate in alert management. So I could create a name, like I'm going to call it server at risk. Yikes. That's my description for the day. But remember when we looked at the alert coming from my app, it had that search query in the alert way back. Here's that search query. We save the search query automatically down. You don't have to memorize it. You can go into alerts and build them with your saved searches, but you can do it right in context. We can look at how often we want it, and I can schedule this. So this is where now you've got real-time data metrics, performance metrics, log data, custom data coming in, and you're running searches over and over and over again for you. You can suppress the alerts. If you know you want, look, I just need to be known every 15 minutes. I don't want an alert flood. You can email me. Sure, let's go ahead and email me because I want to know what's going on directly because I'm just that way. So server at risk. Go ahead and send it to Srini. And then we've got this notion of webhook. How many people are using webhooks today, just in general in your apps? Okay, couple. This is such a flexible way. All these services that are building these days, PagerDuty, I mean, everyone has a REST API or a way to do a webhook, and so we support webhook. It's a complete flexibility for you. You can do, gives you JSON, you can do JSON payloads if you want. Runbooks, which I'm going to get to, and service desk actions. So a lot of times I need things to kick to my service desks. And one of the core areas that we've heard a lot is, hey, can we get integration into my ServiceNow? That's my ticketing system. I'd like to just be able to get that into ServiceNow. And so we've done work to create a ServiceNow connector. It's in preview now, private preview. You can create a ServiceNow connector, and you can choose, is this an incident, an alert, and it's up to whatever you have configured in your ServiceNow environment. How many are using ServiceNow? Okay, so this works with ServiceNow, and ServiceNow and us are actually in conversation about continuing to make sure that these two systems work hand in hand. So, here's a security incident. Pop right down, and you got your contact types. So you can fill this out. Now I can route an email to me because I want to know. I don't want just a ticketing system I don't want it to get lost in the vapor. I want to know. But I also am going to go log those nodes into the ticketing system so that they know what's happening, and it's already the knowledge to click it as there. But in addition, I'm going to go use my runbook. And so here, not only where you get these typical monitoring solutions that are just running the monitoring, you're able to actually see quarantine. And I'm going to go choose that quarantine VM. When I see this, it's going to quarantine it right there. So my own custom logic. Now if we flip over to look at the custom logic, remember Srini took us into automation and we showed runbooks and how to author. Here I can show my runbooks. I've got my quarantine. I can go view and edit, which again is just the power of PowerShell. And so we've got all the PowerShell components all right there. And I can see when my jobs are even actually executing. So you can really watch those jobs and run. So it's not only about monitoring and troubleshooting and analytics. There's tools out there that can give you visibility. But you really want, again, that circle, bringing it all back together. You need the ability to actually do something about it and automate and go remediate those elements. So Srini, that's my security and troubleshooting scenarios. Can we get this thing backed up, maybe?
Yeah. Cool. A real backup, not a bot that sort of sends information out.
Thank
right?
you. Yeah.
So I want to sort of show a couple of different things. One is disaster recovery, and the other is backup. Right? How many of you sort of use some disaster recovery solution in your enterprise? Is it easy to use? If it's yes, put up your hand. No? Oh, wow. So you must be using site recovery. Okay, well, just kidding. All right. So, oops, no, definitely don't want to do that. All right. So I'm going to go into my recovery services vault, which is part of Oems. And what I'm going to show you is how easy it is to take a 4-node, 4-VM SharePoint application that's running on premises, okay, in a VMware environment, and replicate that, do a DR sort of into Azure. Right? That's what I'm going to sort of attempt to do in the next 5 minutes. So wish me luck. All right? So here you are in the recovery services vault. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to go to getting started. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Yeah. Getting started, site recovery. Right? It's a 3-step process. The first step is you prepare your infrastructure, where I basically tell site recovery, look, I have a VMware vCenter managed VMware environment on premises, and I'm going to sort of replicate my VMs into Azure. It's a one-time operation. And what it does is it actually sets up a configuration server, a VM on premises inside VMware, so that can sort of take the replication traffic and send it to Azure. I've already done that. It takes about 20 minutes to do that. I didn't think you guys would have the patience for that. So I've already done that. Now, I don't have to do it ever again. I can now sort of replicate any of my applications running on that VMware system into Azure. So let's go to step 2 directly. I'm going to say replicate application. It's a few steps. First step is to configure the source side. It realizes that I've already set up VMware as my source. I've got a configuration server set up. It picks it up. It says these are virtual machines. It's managed by vCenter, blah, blah, blah. And it's all auto-populated at this point. I'm going to say OK. Nothing to sort of talk about there. Again, since my configuration is into Azure, right, it picks the targeted Azure. I have, only one subscription at this point, so it picks up the subscription. If you have other subscriptions, you can decide which one you want, okay? It asks me a choice of, is it resource manager? How do I want to sort of fail over into Azure, as a resource manager, resource, or as classic? I'm going to pick resource manager. What storage account do I replicate into Azure? And what networks in Azure should I connect to when it actually fails over? So since this subscription has one network, it's picked it up. I can actually go into any of these and create new networks and new storage right in context if I wanted to do that, right? And it automatically picks up the subnet based on the subnets that I have on premises. So pretty much auto-filled everything for me. So I'm going to click OK. Now it says, hey, what are your virtual machines? What does your application have? Here is my 4-node SharePoint application. So let me pick up all 4 nodes. There is SQL, there's an app tier, and 2 web tiers. So I want to pick these 4 nodes up and say OK. Okay. The next thing is asking me for some information. Right? What it does is in each one of these VMs, we inject what's called a mobility agent that essentially allows us to track changes happening inside that VM. This is the way in which we get around converting VMDK files into VHD files. We don't do that. We sit inside the guest, we track the changes at the disk level, and send the information out, so there's no conversion happening at all. So it needs credentials for me to be able to push the agent into the VMware VMs. So I give the credentials. Okay, it's a VM account. It also recognizes the fact that one of these VMs has an underscore in its name, which means that when it comes up on Azure, Azure doesn't like special characters in VM names. So it's asking me to fix it right now so I wouldn't have a problem and I'm actually failing over. So I'm going to call this SharePoint SQL 1. Okay. There you go. Okay. Basically it, hit OK. And lastly, it asks me, what's the replication policy? As part of configuration, as part of configuring my sort of infrastructure, I've got to create replication policies. I've already created one called SharePoint policy, which essentially replicates, this is sort of near real-time replication. So every few seconds, it's actually going to send the data. But I've set the RPO threshold of 15 minutes, which means that if I ever get delays or backed up beyond 15 minutes, it's going to give me an alert. And every hour, I'm taking an app consistent snapshot as well. So I'm going to hit OK. And as the last step, enable replication. That's basically it. At this point, all the 4 VMs are going to sort of get replication turned on. They will start their initial replication. Okay? Might take an hour, 2 hours, depending on the size of this VM, before all of the data gets to Azure. And then you're in a continuous replication mode. At this point, once you reach that point, and you don't have to do anything about it at this point, you are protected. All 4 VMs are protected. Okay? But that's not enough. Let's say there is a disaster, and I want to sort of bring these VMs up on Azure. I don't want to, at that point, go and say, hey, bring up this VM first, that VM later, sort of connect it to these networks, open these ports. That's a lot of work to do when I'm sort of stressed. So I want to go ahead and create what's called a replication plan right now, in which I give sort of all that intelligence and be able to sort of just click one button when the actual disaster happens. Now, one little caveat is that it takes about 10 minutes before all of these 4 VMs replication gets enabled, after which I could go and create a replication plan. We don't have the patience. So I'm going to go to another vault here where identical VMs are already replicating. So I'm going to create a recovery plan here to show you how it's done. So I come down here and go to recovery plans. Okay? So let's create a new recovery plan. Okay, let's give it a name. Let's call it a demo recovery plan. Okay. What's the source? Source is VMware, config server 1. Target is Azure. That's kind of how we set it up. Deployment model, resource manager. And let's select the VMs to put inside the replication plan. So here are the 4 VMs that are replicating here. Okay. So what this does is to create a sort of a plan for us, a very simple plan, which says that if you fail over, these 4 VMs are going to come up on Azure together. But that's a problem. If the front end comes up before the back end, starts taking requests, it's going to fail. So you don't want that to happen. You want the SQL to come up first, the app tier to come up next, and then you want your web tiers to come up. You may want to do some tests before you sort of open it out to your customers, right? So let's go and add some intelligence into this demo plan. So here's the recovery plan. I'm going to go ahead and customize it. Okay? So you notice that this recovery plan has all 4 VMs in there, and they're all going to start simultaneously as part of group 1. But I want to start them in 3 separate groups. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2 more groups. Okay? I'm going to take the app tier, and I'm going to move it to the second group. I'm going to take the web tier and move it to the third group. So let's move both the web tiers into the third group. Everything within a group will start simultaneously. Groups are sequenced. Okay? So you can basically do parallelism and sequencing in here. That's great. The one other thing that I want to do is I want to open up port 80 on these web servers after they are running. So I'm going to go here and say add a post action. A post action gets run once the servers are up and running. So I'm going to add a post action. I'm going to call it open port 80. Okay? I have an automation script in my automation account that does a bunch of interesting things. In fact, we have published a lot of these interesting things into the gallery. You can pick those into your automation account. So I'm going to pick my account. Okay? There are a couple of run books here. Okay? One of them, if I want to sort of create a load balancer, I can go ahead and create it at this point. I'm just going to open port 80 at this point and hit OK. Okay? That's basically it. I'm going to now save this recovery plan. And that's it. So once my VMs are replicating, if there is a disaster, I go run this recovery plan. It's going to sort of bring up these 4 VMs in the order we described, and then open up port 80 on the 2 web VMs as well. And you can make these recovery plans as rich and as complex as you want them to. And you can sort of run them, test them, make sure they're working exactly the way you want to. So when there is a disaster, one button click, and you're up and running. So that's the power of site recovery. How long did I take? 3 minutes, 4 minutes? I want to show a couple of other things, okay? And then we'll wrap up. How are we doing on time? 8 minutes to go. A couple more things. Okay, one is backup, okay? Real backup. Let me show you how easy it is. Oh, we also have Oems integration. Let me go in here. Okay, so let me go back to your home page. Okay, so among all these tiles, we have a couple of tiles. There is an Azure backup tile right here. There's an Azure site recovery tile right here, which tells you about the health of Azure site recovery and Azure backup, all integrated and showing up in the Oems dashboard. The backup tile says there are a couple of unprotected VMs sitting here. So let's go ahead and fix that. Right? Let me go to my backup area. Okay, into the recovery services wall. It's the same wall for backup, DR, everything. I'm going to essentially go to backup. Okay? And what's my goal? I want to essentially back up VMs running on Azure. And those are the 2 VMs that said it's not backed up. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay? So I want to back up VMs on Azure. Click OK. Okay? It says, what is your backup policy? I already have a default policy that backs up once a day. I'm good with that. I could go ahead and create new policies. I'm good with that. I'm just going to pick this policy and say OK. Okay? Now it's going to go and enumerate all the VMs running in my subscription. Okay? So it found the 2 VMs that are not yet backed up. I go ahead, pick these 2 VMs, hit select, and hit OK. And that's basically it. So it could be 10 VMs, 20 VMs. I'm applying a backup policy. All of these are now going to start getting backed up. You have a question?
Are those backups going across regions, or are they in the same region?
So in this case, the backup is to the vault. Right? So it's the same vault that is backing up to. You could back up potentially to a different place as well. OK. I had one more demo. I don't think we'll have time for that.
Okay. Well, you guys want to see the demo, or you want to keep going?
I'll tell you what it is. Right? This is a feature that a lot of people have asked for.
Yeah.
All right.
They flew all this way, right? We can skip this other content. Let's get the demo.
This is actually a peek of something that we have not yet released, right? So I don't know how well it's going to work. I'll give it a shot. Okay, we'll take the risk. Okay. So we do backup IaaS VMs. I showed you how to back it up. You can back it up. You can restore it as a VM. What a lot of you guys came back and said is, that's all great. I have these large VMs. I don't want to restore the whole VM. Let me restore just a file or 2 from the VM. Right? So that capability is right now in private preview. Okay? It's a little rough around the edges, but I'll show that for you there. We already have a fan for that. Okay? So I want to show you a couple of things. One, I'm going to show you the fact that my machine has only one drive on that, C drive. Don't worry about why I show this to you, but I'm showing it to you right now, right? So here is a VM that's being backed up. Okay? There's a VM. Okay? I am going to go ahead and where did it go? Sorry. What did I do? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and instead of recovering the entire VM, so restoring the entire VM, I'm going to go into file recovery. I can pick the point in time from which I want to recover the file. I'm going to take the latest point in time. I'm going to hit download script. Okay? What this is essentially doing, it's taking that particular snapshot of the backup that I have and making that into an iSCSI target. It's not copying anything. It's sort of in place and it creates sort of an iSCSI target for that. And it's creating a script that tells my laptop from where I'm doing the recovery how to connect to the iSCSI laptop, authenticate how to connect to the laptop, and eventually it'll sort of show it up as a volume on my machine that I can browse, pick up whatever I want, drop it, and go ahead and delete that iSCSI head. That's really what it's trying to do. So we have a fairly slow network, so I've seen it take a little bit of time to do that. So let's give it a few seconds for that to complete. Let's come back and finish the demo. It's going to take 2 to 3 minutes. Meanwhile, you can do your next slide. We'll come back and show you how it's done, and then I'll, remember you saw only one drive on my machine? You'll see 2 shortly.
So we're down to just a few minutes left in the session.
Yeah, click.
I'm on 5.
Yeah.
We wanted to give you just a pretty heavy demo run, because when I talk about the wheel, there's a lot there. But why I'm telling you, you can't be in one place. You just can't choose one. It really works together. That's why we spent the time on the demos, is really to show how these pieces come together for you to stitch your management capabilities. But it's all one tool, one capability in one way. So if I jump ahead, here's a few last points we wanted to do. You kind of heard us talk through, come on. I'm going to talk through what you're going to see at the show, and what you're going to hear in the press, and what you're going to see with some of the announcements. The first one is starting in October, we're going to have 4 new packages that are available. And so those packages are really going to be centered on insights and analytics, automation, control, security compliance, protection recovery. It's a flexible packaging that you can do. Today, we have an add-on to System Center. Now you don't have to have System Center. You can go direct to get this flexible packaging. You can choose to use them each individually. So I'm just wanting my own single analytics, or if I just want the great backup work we just saw, you can go buy just that offer for you. You don't have to take the whole thing. You can really focus on what you need. If I just need security, I can get the security. However, you also can leverage it all together as a suite. We've had a lot of feedback that we like the feedback, we like the per ingestion model or the consumption model, but as we move to the enterprise, we want to go pay as you go with per node. And so you'll see a new offer that allows you to come through and just look at the number of nodes that you're managing. We'll do the calculations every month to make sure that it's the accurate nodes, and we'll do the billing in that direction. So that's one announcement you'll see. I'm just going to roll through these pretty quick. Yeah. The next announcement, you saw me demo the application dependency monitoring. It's in preview today. Go sign up and start using it. You're going to have discovery, mapping, process-to-process connections. I showed it to you in depth. Go ahead and start using it. The next core piece is network performance monitoring. Now, we public previewed this a few weeks ago, but we thought we'd bring it back in and show you. I didn't demo much of it. The data is surfacing up through through the other elements. We've got the ability to go do basic performance and loss, or detection loss and latency for the performance, and then understanding the hops of your network. Core pieces of data that you need. So that's in preview as well. And then a development kit that you can go in and start build your own solutions with an integration API, the solution designer, which you saw me use, custom logs and metrics, and a build guide for how you go do this. And so you can start to leverage that. In the automation section, you're going to see available today the update management. Not just insights, but able to start running your own patch management, both on Windows, and we'll do this with Linux. We'll continue to build this forward. As you know, we innovate, we'll drop something and keep building from there. Change monitoring, I showed the change monitoring piece. It's tied in with our configuration management that we had before. Gives you both Windows and Linux change auditing. You can get clear down to the registry and file diff analysis. We didn't demo that today. There's sessions that'll do it, but you can actually see the comparative views of that for troubleshooting. In the security compliance side, on our security session, you'll see one of the big announcements is our common event format, Ceph. This is a huge piece that gives you insight to a lot of those firewalls and network devices like Cisco. It brings all that information in, and that really gets that interoperability with many different security and network devices. That's available today. And then we run into protection recovery, VMware backup, globally available today. We finally got it's been in preview, and so now we can back up your VMware. We use that host level backup directly from VMware. We integrate with vCenter. You did the file, you just think about the file level, so we've got that. And then local to cloud backup. So you can do it both in local or the cloud. Okay, now I'm going to fly through this one real quick, because why do we see a lot of our customers using OMS? It really centers, the ones that are really using it is, I hear mostly these 6 items. Not all of them, chooses on the different pieces. Some are using it for economics. They don't have to pay for all that infrastructure. They can focus on managing the apps and not. Others is just how fast they're able to go troubleshoot. But some of the other cores is just the high velocity, or I'd say the scale. We've seen customers be able to throw on 30,000 machines on a Friday afternoon. You can't do that a lot of times in your own environment. If you need to get data up and start analyzing it, you should be able to do it quickly. And so then future. Innovation and future, when we think about it, is starting to take a bet and know they've got the confidence that where they're headed in the cloud, they've got an enterprise-grade management with a company like Microsoft that's standing behind it. So at the show, you want to ready to show the
what's the number?
It's
6
number
or 7?
7.
7. All right. Okay, so you've got your D drive, which is what sort of came down. I double-click it. I've got all the things in here, Oems planning. I can go ahead and open up stuff, take a look at what's there. Let's say I want to copy it, and basically, boom, boom. Recovered the file. That's what it takes.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool.
So, I'm glad you're able to do it on the spot, Srini.
Yeah.
Got a fan over here. We'll get his quote on there next time. So, OMS at Ignite, I started it off by talking about some of the sessions and the opportunity to learn from each other. A couple things I'll throw out there for you is there's a deep dive Wednesday morning, 9 a.m., where they're going to go deeper. Our teams are pretty demo heavy already, so they're going to go pretty deep into the demos, another click deeper than we did, across all the core components on the deep dive. There's Wednesday at 5 p.m. I don't know if you're on the invite for this. If you're not, go to the booth, go to the OMS booth and say you want to get in on the customer day. We've got Customer Connect. What's next? You tell us. This is a great opportunity just to come in, and we want to listen to you. We want to hear what you need, and it's just a great way to just feedback real time. Tuesday through Friday, we've got 18 sessions plus the expo hall. We've got a lot of interest in these sessions, so you can dive in there. We're available. I've got a handful of the team. I see them kind of spread out through here to answer questions. And so if you want to hang back, we're more than happy to take the questions. And we're just a few minutes over time. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Thanks a lot.